So I was doing some digging into primarily the Bohemian Grove. What really got me started on this was looking for a connection between, well, of course, the Epstein files have been released now, a lot of them redacted still. However, I did find one connection to the files in the Bohemian Grove through a Norwegian I guess aristocrat. I don't remember his name. I could look into it. Maybe I shall. But Moritz Skaugen. I doubt I'm pronouncing that name right. However, Moritz Skaugen Jr. is a Norwegian business person. In 1988, his father and uncle managed to buy the company AS Cosmos and merge it into their family company Eichland. Let's see, for one, Eichland Energy AS, Energy Overview, Norwegian company incorporated in 2015, providing research, analysis, and data tools for the energy industry, specifically focusing on natural gas, liquefied natural gas, power, and renewables. The connection is Moritz Skaugen was sent a reply to Jeffrey Epstein on Sunday, July 8th, 2012. Jeffrey to Moritz. Karim is Karim Wade, a very good friend, knows Africa well, son of the former president of Senegal, and Karim, was Minister of Energy and is looked up to by many of the continent's leaders. Here's a reply. Great, will do, and keep you posted. Greetings from Singapore. On my way to California and to try to understand about the people of the Bohemian Grove. Of course, the Bohemian Grove is within California. That was my connection. That was what I had seen. That was all I had been able to find. Granted, I also did a search with BG. BG is also the initials of Bill Gates, and so I've seen a lot of things referring BG to Bill Gates, and I didn't go through all the documents because there are so many BGs. So furthermore, I will proceed to go through them. However, let's get back on topic. What I really wanted to, look into as far as this was the satanic rituals that go on at the Bohemian Grove. Granted, I'm gonna provide a lot of pictures in this as well, but for starters, what I'm going to do is I also wanted to explain who Baal is and what the rituals and sacrifices are for, and this and that. Brief overview: who Baal was. Baal was a prominent ancient Canaanite and Phoenician deity revered as the god of storms, rain, and fertility, crucial for agriculture in the Middle East. Meaning lord or master in Semitic languages, he was often represented as a warrior bringing life-giving rain. In the Bible, Baal is portrayed as a false god frequently worshipped by ancient Israelites, acting as a direct rival to the God of Israel, Yahweh. Key aspects of Baal. Deity of nature. Baal, particularly in his role as Baal Hadad, was the sky god who controlled the seasons, rain, and storms, often depicted with a lightning bolt and club. Mythology. He is central to the Ugaritic Baal cycle, where he battles other gods, including Yam, the sea god, and Mat, the god of death and sterility, to maintain cosmic order. Worship and conflict. Worshipped across the Mediterranean, his cults emphasize fertility and harvest. The Hebrew Bible frequently condemns Baal worship, famously culminating in the prophet Elijah's confrontation with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. Evolution. While historically a fertility god in later periods in the biblical context, Baal was often viewed as a demonic or malevolent force, sometimes associated with practices like child sacrifice and later evolved into the demon Beelzebub. Very fascinating stuff. Now I'll get into, I guess, what sacrifice was for and whatnot. Sacrifice to the ancient Semitic deity Baal, particularly in Canaanite and Phoenician, Carthaginian contexts, often involved burnt offerings to honor the storm and fertility god. Archaeological and biblical records such as Jeremiah 19:5 suggest these rituals, including extreme cases of child sacrifice, were performed to appease the deity. The practice was heavily condemned in the Bible as barbaric pagan custom, distinguishing it from Israelite worship. However, I'd like to state that prior to Baal was heavily worshipped. Of course, God condemned the worship of Baal, even in the Old Testament. I don't remember what passage. However, I do remember when Moses was up on the mountain constructing the tabernacle with God, or God constructing the tabernacle for the Israelites, for the Jews to then go into Israel and have laws and rules. Moses went back down, and the people had constructed a monument to essentially, a golden monument, essentially what would be Baal. And of course, I'll put what those monuments look like historically in here. I'll put pictures, but it infuriated Moses, and he threw one of the tabernacles down, and it broke, shattered. And he had to go back up and essentially ask for forgiveness again, and said, I guess my people aren't worthy, this and that. And they had to wait, I don't remember how many years, another 40 years or such in the wilderness, before they could reach the promised land, right? That's how much Yahweh refused the worship of Baal. Baal, like I said, then becoming Beelzebub, or associated with Beelzebub, which is a demon or member of Satan's council, essentially, from my understanding. Let's get into it. Child sacrifice. Evidence from Carthage indicates child sacrifice was practiced, with children burned to appease the god. Biblical texts describe Israelites burning their children in the Tophet altar in the valley of Hinnom as sacrifices to Baal or Moloch. Why sacrificed? People offered these sacrifices to ensure fertility, prosperity, and favor from the storm god, often in times of crisis. Ritual practices. Besides child sacrifice, rituals involved priests cutting themselves and spilling blood, as seen in the account of Elijah on Mount Carmel. Biblical condemnation. The Torah and prophets strongly forbade these practices, identifying them as detestable, foreign customs, modern symbolism. In 2026, a large Baal statue. Now, this was interesting. A Baal statue was burned in Iran, symbolizing resistance against the organizers, describing as corrupt Western systems and perceived idol worship. This is fascinating. I find that to be very fascinating. These practices represent a sharp contrast between the religious customs on ancient Canaan and the worship of the Israelites, leading to intense theological conflict, detailing in the Old Testament. Now, these are pictures from the Bohemian Grove, is what I'll start with. I don't know who this man is, but I find it interesting. Here's Nixon right there. I think that's Reagan as well on the left. I'm ignorant to who the man in the middle is, but let's continue. presidents of the United States in Bohemian Grove. Look at this. Then this. Now this seems rather suspicious. Why the secretive nature of the Bohemian Grove? Granted, I'll make another video about certain members and whatnot, but as I have found certain flyers and whatnot with members, and some have been released accidentally. I think it's all alleged, and it's hard to find this information. It's pretty shrouded. This is interesting. I'd like to note that in the bottom left-hand corner of this photo, you can see this statue with a man with a head with horns coming out of his head. I believe that's at least very strange. I know very little about the history of this, but to me goes against well, it is demonic in my mind, but it goes against what we are imagined to be pure in human form, right? And any bestiality, of course, terrible thing. How would humans grow horns? Well, no, mixing of genes and whatnot. This one interesting because if you look at all these people in robes around a circle of naked women doing on their backs, like I don't even know what that would be. Of course, you see a hierarchy too because there's people up on the stairs and whatnot. Strange. This also fascinating. I would like to note the horns, or what appears to me to be horns, which Baal being a bull. I would also like to note that Baal is represented as a bull, which granted would explain the horns, but why the worship of such crazy idols? I don't have much to explain on this kind of similar picture. Here we go, an elephant. I don't have much to explain on this, albeit strange for the elite and rich to be doing such theatrical, weird things of this nature. To me, this looks kind of like Persian, or I don't know if they had elephants, though. They didn't have elephants down in Persia, India. The only thing I don't really understand is this dude's helmet or hat type of thing. It looks like ancient Greek, or I don't even know, alien, Looks like something straight out of a movie. Alright, here we go. Now look at this. This is candles, bunch of people eating. Of course, Bohemian Grove is also a predominantly male. It is, it's supposed to be a male-centered organization. But look at, what the hell? You know what I mean? This isn't normal activity. It's not. Simply not normal activity, They made claims trying to give less credence to this, saying this is fraternal. It's similar to a fraternity. You're telling me now? I was not in a fraternity. I can't claim that I know, but you telling me that this looked like a damn fraternity? I'm telling you straight up right now, that does not. When I think of fraternity, I think of a bunch of people getting absolutely wasted, drunk. Of course, there's a lot of brotherhood stuff and this and that. There's a professional sense in it, but this and no fraternity. I wonder what they're eating. That's what I'm wondering. Take a little look down there. Straight up, I don't know. Look like chicken to me. I think some of these sigils on the banners are fascinating. A sun. I could maybe dive more into the symbolism on some of these, but let's see. Okay, I remember what I found strange. Look how tall these guys are. They look like minotaurs or something of that sort. What are they on, stilts, bro? There's no way these guys are this tall. Look how tall these guys in the middle are in comparison to everybody else on the left or the right. Someone not happy. It's raining, it's thundering right now. Baal, like I said, the god of exactly that, so maybe he's not happy that I'm exposing him and the worship of him. So, no. Let alone, I'm gonna continue. More sigils. This one I found interesting for a reason, being that, up at the top, I don't really, of course, this corkscrews all the way up there too, as you can see. And I believe they walk up there, and then what is that up at the top? It's just too blurred for me to actually get an idea. This is the main one that I like. Allegedly, this is an owl. Now, could be. Now I did some research and kind of like demonology and whatnot, and I know Lilith is revered as being a demon of owl, or having owls. Now I think I'll also put. They've alleged that it's Athena owl and it's for wisdom, this, that. I doubt it, bro. I'm heavily skeptical of that, because I'll put the symbology of Baal, because this is the cremation of care. And what they do is they sacrifice and burn an effigy, essentially something important to them in their modern or their daily life, so that they can then, I guess, kind of forget, or lose a tie to their world. Now I see strange connection between this and the worship of Baal, in my opinion, being that they burn children, you know what I mean? And what are these dudes doing around dressed up like this? You telling me this is normal behavior? And that's the thing, they try to attribute it to normal behavior, and it's like, what are you talking about, brother? Again, same thing. Not normal behavior, straight up with it. This is crazy talk right here. What are they doing? 4 women. These are women right here. Yeah, I can't confirm that actually, but they look kind of like women, where they're naked, and then you got 3 guys behind them. They look like sacrifices right there. 4 women in front on the stage look like sacrifices. Am I lying? I don't think so. Okay, and then you got all these people in front of water. All right, this one's fascinating too, because this was an old picture. Now, not too much is fascinating about it, except look at this dude's nose. What culture is associated with long noses? Jews. I hate to say that, but big noses like that. I have nothing against the Jewish population. I'm gonna state that, but then I have over here on the right side of this picture, you look and you see a dude who looks like he's decapitated and he's holding his head. And I found, I don't know, on top of the tent, it sort of, to me, looks like those are heads, but I can't confirm that or anything. Strangeness. Here, this is a book. I don't have this book. Cult-like worship, you know what I mean? What are those hats too, Okay. This one is supposed to be like a play, but, I found it to be very, very, very strange. They have an orchestra and everything. Trying to remember if okay, well, they have like a Loch Ness Monster thing right here. What the heck is that about? You know what I mean? What is that thing? The Leviathan? Now, the Leviathan is interesting, the end of the world and whatnot. Fascinating. I just don't understand why they got all these people up here on top, too. It makes little sense to me. Here's another picture of the cremation of care, a little bit closer up. Strange. Visuals. Here we go. These guys wearing kilts. Roman kind of structures. Big stairs leading upwards, that's strange to me. And then the dude sitting there, obviously another hierarchy dress. Now it's unconfirmed that anybody in a dress is going to be actually a lady, because there was a lot of cross dressing going on the Bohemian Grove, at least from what I had found. Now this, I don't remember. I think I just took this one, so because it was in the kind of documents and the pictures. This is a fairly normal picture from what I can see. Except, I think maybe that looks like the what do they call that guild? The one with the go like that kind of thing. Of course, Illuminati. You will see some like images or imagery of the like all-seeing eye or whatnot, which is associated with the elite and whatnot. Another strange. This is a similar one to one I had shown earlier. Of course, these guys look like Roman soldiers, gladiuses and whatnot. But it goes all the way up. It corkscrews all the way up to the top, and it sort of pyramidal. Pyramidal. I don't know about this one. Look at the redwoods, though. Like that's one thing that also fascinates me is the fact that the Grove is in such like a secluded area, such as the redwoods. Big old circles, bunch of rich men, big piano right in here in the middle. What they doing? They ain't jamming that hard, you know what I mean? They ain't jamming that hard. They look bored as hell. This one's crazy because I don't know how to interpret it, bro. What are they doing? Setting off fireworks? Look like smoke in the background. Something's on fire in the background. And then you got this like explosion looking thing, with a bunch of people around it. I just, what the? What's this Bohemian Grove Action Network, 1984. This is fascinating because obviously, people have been protesting the Bohemian Grove for a really long time. And this is, I looked into it. Essentially, what they were trying to protest is that there is a ruling elite within the United States of America. Of course, I have found that many, well, the ruling elite is a global thing at this rate as opposed to just being within America. I found like in the Epstein files, I find it fascinating that there's so many connections to like the Saudi or Saudi United Arab Emirates, a bunch of European countries, of course, Great Britain, UK, United Kingdom. Norway, I've seen a lot. I've seen stuff like, well, of course, Israel, connecting with Israel. Allegedly, Epstein was a Mossad agent. I can't really confirm that, but I saw some stuff regarding that. He was heavily in contact with Ehud Barak, which was Prime Minister of Israel. A bunch of things of that sort, connections sort of with Russia, or at least spy networks all over the world. This one was fascinating because Owl St. Stevens, like, what? And of course, this dude painting it right here, I don't know who this is, but this guy holding a cigar, smoking a cigar too, like, And then this guy down here, of course, it's another fascinating. The Manhattan Project was heavily, they had meetings at the Bohemian Grove too. And I was thinking, I watched Oppenheimer when it came out like a year ago, I guess, a year and a half ago. And this boy looked like Big Oppenheimer, except he got a lasso, or I don't know if he does, but, you just reminded me. This was fascinating because this was like a metal Bohemian Grove something Roth. But I thought that little metal looked a little suspicious, sort of like Nazi-ish. But of course, I can't, not gonna make that claim exactly, but I just trying to make the connection. If you look closely within that, there looks to be an owl, on this top part of the metal. All right, here was another one that I did some research into Lilith, like I said. Now, I more so believe it to be a sacrifice to Baal. But offerings to Lilith often focus on themes of darkness, sensuality, rebellion, and the divine feminine, using items like black candles, incense, frankincense, and myrrh. Herbs such as rose, jasmine, pomegranate, mugwort, and crystals, obsidian, garnet, rose, quartz, as says wishy-washy, but with symbolic items including snakes, owls, mirrors, and red, black, pink colors, with personal offerings like blood or sexual fluids also used in some traditions alongside meditation and honest self-reflection. So one thing I would like to note about Lilith, she's associated with being Adam's first wife, which of course is associated with snakes as well as apples and whatnot, because she ate that apple, and badness happened, I guess. Colors: black, red, pink, white, deep purples. Animals: snakes, owls, bats, cats, bats. Crystals: obsidian, which is a black crystal; garnet, which is a red crystal; rose quartz, ruby, smoky quartz, amber, geodes, rhodochrosite, hematite. Herbs and plants: pomegranate, rose, jasmine, lotus, lily, mugwort, cinnamon, vanilla, apple, patchouli, orchids, and wormwood. Scents: incense, frankincense, myrrh, dragon's blood, which I'm unfamiliar with, musk, and sandalwood. Other items: mirrors, feathers, eggs, bones, caves, red, black cloth. Excuse me. Personal sexual fluids, red wine, grape juice. Alright, ritual practice: altar setup. Use a black cloth, black candles, include sigil, symbol. Meditation: focus on her sigil or symbols while sitting with your own uncomfortable emotion. Shame, desire, power. Chanting: use chants like Renic. Nah, I'm not gonna. I'm a suspicious man. I ain't gonna do all that now. I'll tell you that much right now. I ain't saying it. But you can read it there. Personal connection. Lilith's work is internal. Offerings are less about gifts and more about honest self-confrontation and releasing illusions, making silence and clarity key. Key themes: rebellion and independence, honoring her role as the first feminist rebel; sensuality and desire, associated with passion, sexuality, and freedom; dark feminine, embracing shadows, intuition, and primal power. Now, back on Baal. I think I had already read this earlier. Okay, here was a fascinating one. Now, this is not a picture, rather it is a drawing. Strange drawing, though. Of course, man with the spear, and these guys worshipping them. Saint Patrick at Tara. The apparition of Cuchulain, I don't know. This one was fascinating for me, fascinating because their faces are shrouded and they have like bags over them. But what is all this right here? Look to me to be sacrifice. Of course, another cremation of care picture. This one was fascinating to me too. Of course, this was allegedly like from a video. I didn't watch the video or anything. Dude has candles around him. Strange. But if you look at this picture to the left, I don't know if you ever see anything about demons. Don't that look like Satan worship demon-esque things of that sort? Like, come on, nah. This one, of course, we looked at that one earlier. Cremation of care ritual inside the Bohemian Grove. This human sacrifice using an effigy is done each year in the elite and secretive Redwood Forest in Northern California. Photo obtained by Mark Dice. Now look at the strangity of this. You know, that ain't natural. It ain't natural. No one's doing that. Normal people ain't doing that, you know. I understand the temptations of power. I understand the temptations of wealth. Of course, these are wealthy men already, typically, or, you know, wealthy in some respect, wealthy in mind, in pocket, in influence, this, that, whatever it may be. Obviously, they want more power than they have, or it's just strange to me. Look at it seems as if there's a face in that rock and at the top above the fire. I'm gonna continue on. This craziness. What's going on? Big streets of light, smoke in the background. Obviously, there's multiple fires in multiple locations. You see dudes in robes. Of course, they're all dudes. They all look at all the dang hats, bro. Crazy. Why don't you take your hat off, boys? Cremation of care. Now I found this document. I won't be going through it entirely, but I will post it here as well. Now this one has a bunch of names on it. Of course, 1971. I was born in the year 2000, so these names, for the most part, mean nothing to me. But when you zoom in, it's hard to decipher any of the names because they're a little blurry, this and that. So without me being familiar with them, it's kind of even harder for me to decipher them. Cremation and care. Here's a document written by Charles K. Mild. Now I have no idea who Charles K. Mild is. Maybe I could look it up. Or Field. Charles Kellogg Field. It was Field. Okay, maybe not. Was a prominent figure in the early 20th century Bohemian Club and a key creator of the artistic and ritual traditions at the Bohemian Grove. He was the author, playwright, and later well-known radio personality Cheerio. Creator of Grove Plays, Field, and composer Joseph D. Redding created the first completely original Grove play titled The Man in the Forest in 1902. He went on to write several more of these dramatic performances between 1902 and 1918. Cremation of Care in 1923. Field was specifically requested to rewrite the script for the Cremation of Care, the opening night ceremony of the annual encampment. His version became the basis for the ceremony for years to come. And so if that's true, Field Circle. Field was closely associated with the caveman camp and a specific gathering spot in the Grove. Field Circle is named after him, as shown in a 1947 photo featuring him alongside Herbert Hoover. Fascinating. Don't remember where I was. I was looking at pictures, wasn't I? Yes. Cremation of Care, Charles Field. Bada bang. Let's see. Okay, here's some Baal worship. Of course, Baal is depicted as a bull with his hands stretched out. He is allegedly, a golden. He's made of gold. Where the monuments, the idols were, which were supposed to be burned. I think going back to the 2026 burning of Baal, Baal. Well, Islam is a Abrahamic religion as well. Worshiping God or Yahweh, as opposed to someone such as Baal, which is to me sacrilegious. Sacrifices to Baal, particularly child sacrifices, were a significant aspect of ancient Canaanite and Phoenician religious practices, often condemned in biblical texts. Historical context: Baal was a prominent deity in ancient Canaanite religion, often associated with fertility, rain, and agriculture. The worship of Baal included various rituals, among which child sacrifice was notably condemned in the Hebrew Bible. The practice involved burning children as offerings, particularly in the context of the Tophet, a site associated with such sacrifices in ancient Carthage and other Phoenician settlements. Biblical references: the Bible explicitly condemns the practice of child sacrifice to Baal and Molech. For instance, Jeremiah 19:5, I believe I stated this earlier, states that the people built high places to Baal to burn their children as offerings, a practice that God never commanded or even considered. Similarly, Deuteronomy 18:10 warns against the abhorrent practice of passing children through fire, which was associated with worshiping Molech, a deity often linked to Baal. Here's another picture. Essentially, this is what the sacrifice would look like. I also had found similarly, essentially put them in. There's accounts of either putting them in the hands where they were hot and essentially would just burn via conduction, but also putting them in, like, for instance, this was in the aspect of putting them in an oven more so, which I find very strange. More pictures, of course, children over here, and then here's Baal right here. This could have been something similar or more doable, because there's no way they had that much gold to make statues like this one. Their sons and their daughters they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan. Terrible. It's awful. And then, of course, I don't know why, I did stumble across this little Jeff Epstein pic with Baal. I guess they were saying that they look similar. The only thing I'll say about Jeff Epstein is how he get that forehead crazy clean like that, like his hairline's strange. The way he's, dude was a sick man, bro. Sick man. Alright. I was amazed I didn't take the picture, but I did find something along the lines of in Jerusalem, or that's probably wrong, but in Israel somewhere there were or Phoenicia, I think that's where it was, more like Carthage. It was near Carthage. Was tombs associated with the sacrifices of the children to Baal. I died. Allegedly, I guess I don't have the picture, but yeah, maybe I could find it, put it on here as well. Well, God bless. Praise to the Lord, Yahweh above. It's some pretty sick stuff. Jeff Ebb with some pretty sick stuff. I'll be posting more videos, trying to uncover, I don't know, uncover the truth. Albeit maybe some would label me all this theory and whatnot. Maybe, like I said, I'm trying to uncover the truth. A lot of this has been shrouded. I'm not. I'm in a way Socratic in that way. I know nothing, but it's not for me to tell you. It's not for me to say that I know everything. It's for me to provide maybe some evidence or let you figure it out for yourself to let me know what you think. Adios. Like I said, again, God bless. May God bless you. May God protect you. All of that. Adios.